This video is a snippet from a full interview I did with Arvid Call live on Twitch. If you want to watch the whole thing, check the description for a link to the full podcast. Enjoy!
And he's in a very prominent position to actually be able to do it.
That he is. Unfortunately, I only get half an hour with him, so I'm going to have to be very, very pointed and just go straight to the, all right, tell me when you were sad. Let's just get right to it, you know? But no, I love what you're talking about, because I think, like, this taking money off the table is so powerful because it enables, like, your risk tolerance just jumps, right? In your example, right, you're able to run your business completely differently. But not only that, once you have money, like, once that is not a thing that you have to worry about, once food's always on the table, you are living a different life. And that's always true. So I just left my startup after 3 years, right? And one of the biggest reasons I was able to do that is because, like, a month before I left, I started consulting. And I do 8 hours a week, maybe 5 hours a week. And I make it's more than enough money to live, eat, even travel. I just moved to Southeast Asia. That changed the conversation for me, right? But turning points are a thing I really want to talk about. Because, right, for you, it was when you got that email, right? For me, it was when my friend told me that I should consider leaving. And then I stayed at his apartment that weekend. And I started calling people, right? But until I had that conversation, I was in the exact same place. I knew I was sad. I knew I was struggling. And at no point did I think, I'm going to leave, right? Yeah. Because it's so goddamn hard when you're in that moment. And so, I don't know, something I try, or I hope that this can also provide for people, is to say, like, if things were perfect, right, it wouldn't have taken that turning point. Like, it wouldn't have taken that extra action. It's clear in hindsight that those decisions could have, and ideally would have, been made much earlier in both of our stories, right? And we could have saved ourselves a lot of strife. But we had to wait for a turning point. And I think sometimes, ideally, I want to help people realize, like, treat this moment of hearing this podcast and this sentence as, like, this is the turning point, right? This is the moment you reconsider. This is the moment you actually ask yourself if this is what you want to be doing, and if not, how you can get out, right? Or what the other side of that world can look like, you know?
Yeah, that is really nice, and I think I'm really grateful that you're actually doing this, that you're trying to get to these points, to share them with people, because we're all going to find that point at some point in our life anyway. It's just nice for you to actually preempt that and expose people to this before it's too late, or before it's later than it should have been, right? Because in an ideal world, we'd be teaching kids in school what entrepreneurship is. And we would not burden them with student loans. I've just been following chat a little bit, and burden them with $100,000 student loans, while at the same time denying them a $10,000 business loan. Right? That kind of stuff is just the weirdest shit you can come up with. Like, here's $100,000 that you can never default on because for some reason they are unforgivable. Oh, you want to build a business? No, $10,000, not going to happen. You better put up like $50,000 in collateral before we give you anything. Like, what kind of weird cognitive dissonance is this in a society where we essentially put everybody who wants to accomplish something into debt for the largest part of their life? Now, I'm from Germany. My education here was essentially free. Free in the sense of I was able to get my degree that I did get because I dropped out of university twice, and my whole university education for free. I even got paid by the government a little stipend so I was able to pay my rent and pay food and stuff, pay for food. However, I also built a business here in Germany, and I sold the business here in Germany. And half of the money that we got went back to the taxman, because that is what Germany is. Germany is a social democracy, and we have a very, very strong safety net that has to be paid for by taxes. So we have extremely high taxes on capital gains. We have extremely high income taxes. Taxes are super high. Like I said, 50% of what we made went right back to the tax. What that means is that my education was not free. I just paid for it and the education of many other people because I got to actually enjoy the benefits from that education.
Yeah.
Right? So I would rather have a system where people do this, like what I'm doing right now, where you pay a lot of money if you strike it big so that other people have a chance at it too, than falling into debt for 20, 30 years of your life. I mean, the whole thing is you have student loans that are essentially unforgivable, and then you want to have a home. So now you also have a mortgage, and then you need a car. So you need a car loan. Like the amount of debt in North America is incomprehensible to me. I had never had debt in my life for nothing. Not for, I don't have a home. I obviously live in an apartment right now, and we bought a house. But the thing is, I've never had a mortgage before in my life. So I don't really understand it either, how this is something that people just expect to have. It's quite, disturbing to see how much of a sort of Damocles is over your head when you're in that position. And obviously that makes it super hard to make a sound financial decision for your life if you have to pay back the interest on the principal that you can't ever pay back because the interest is so high for the rest of your life. That is tough. Really tough.
And it's really, I talk about risk tolerance a lot. And I say I want to encourage people to have more risk tolerance and be able, which is another word for risk tolerance, privilege, honestly, in a lot of ways, right? Like, you might have been born without risk tolerance. You might have gone to school and now you no longer have the capability of risk tolerance, whether or not you want to, right? I have friends who have to work at FANG companies, not because they want to, but because they have to support their family, right? I have the privilege of not doing that. I have an astounding amount of privilege, right? And that allows me to go do all of these things. And so I think like that's the magic of the indie hacker. That's the magic of the bootstrapper. That's the magic of trying to do things on the side is you don't have to have risk tolerance today, but it is perhaps the thing you can aim to build the most because it is in and of itself freedom. Risk tolerance, privilege, freedom, they're all kind of this same thing. And unfortunately, as you've said, we walk out of the house with fucking handcuffs once we're out of school in North America. I can't even really speak to it. I was lucky enough to do a bunch of internships at FANG companies during school because I'm a freaking software engineer, and I made enough where I barely have student loans left, which is ridiculous and very, 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 very lucky and very good for me. But again, that's why I'm so risk tolerant, right? I'm not risking anything. Hell, I got a grant from my school to go do entrepreneurship for a year in the exact amount of my remaining student loans. And then I did not use any of that money, and I have it sitting there for if they ever decide to charge me for the student loans, or they might get wiped. I don't know. Holding out hope. Right, but like privilege lets me take risks. So I think it is almost like, what's even the word? It is our duty to some extent as people who have so much to try and assist others in building up a scenario where they can then have that, right? Like to help other people.
Navigating this stuff.
Yeah, and making it easier for them. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more clips, subscribe to this channel. If you want to catch the next podcast live, come follow me on Twitch. Thanks.